Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Wanted to do a little update. Everything has changed. So, if you've been following along, I have my 87 E150 I've been putting together. And second time's a charm on the transmission. I built a 351 for it. It's a lot of work. I think in other videos, you've seen the amount of work it was, and a little over $12,000 invested. That may not even be including the price of the vehicle. Everything has changed. I don't know if I have automotively matured or if I have seen the light. But after I put it together and had been driving it some, I figured something out. It's absolutely awful to drive. The handling was borderline dangerous. The manual steering sucked. It ran okay in a straight line. I fought tuning issue after tuning issue with it. I had rejetted the carburetor, I guess 3 times. Got it running pretty good. And I just got to the point where I didn't want to drive it. So if you are unaware, I actually sold it, several engines, couple transmissions, one other vehicle that I forgot I even had. My driveway's empty, except for the 80 E100 I have. That will never go anywhere. That's not going anywhere. That's the one van I'll always keep. But I sold everything, made really good money. My previous job came to an end. That happens in Nashville. All the landlords here are slumlords, and they keep raising rent, and no one can even afford to have businesses. So, the usual Nashville garbage. But for my new job, I had to commute, and I wanted a commuter car, and I didn't want to drive a Kia or a Hyundai or a Toyota Corolla. So I bought this, and it's not pre-owned, it's brand new. It's my first new car in a long time. This is my 2025 Mazda MX-5. And I bought it because I wanted something that got relatively good gas mileage, was fun to drive, and a commuter that I could enjoy. I could put the top down on it, enjoy my Van Halen albums. This was a mistake in a lot of ways. Not financially. I put a really big down payment on it. The payment's nothing. With the way my finances are now, this car's going to be paid off in 12 to 14 months. So I work really hard. I do fairly well for myself, and I'm pretty good with money. The car is genuinely the best car I have ever owned. Best car I've ever driven. I was actually looking at pre-owned ones. I ended up buying a new one because this one I was able to get really cheap. I talked them like $6,000 off sticker, and between that and how I got it out the door, I've paid less for this than most people pay for a base model Hyundai Elantra. Maybe not a base model, but you get the idea, the low $30,000 car range. Mine has the automatic in it, and everybody's like, boo. Well, actually, that's a 6-speed automatic, and it is absolutely incredible. Best automatic transmission I've ever had. This is a Grand Touring, so it has leather, has the Bose sound system. It's got everything fully loaded, and it's in a color a lot of people don't like, but it's like my favorite color on these cars, called Zircon Sand Metallic. In the sunlight, it almost looks like a British greenish gold, and at night it almost just looks like tan. But here's where it gets interesting. So my friend Chris Gorham at Gorham's Garage, you may see it in the window. He threw me a race box to use. It will give you 0 to 60, 1/8 mile, 60 foot, 1/4 mile, everything. So, give you some numbers. The best time I could squeeze out of the white van, and if you think I'm full of crap, I got the videos to prove it. I got the data to prove it. Best thing I squeezed out of that van was I believe it was a 1037. I'd have to look. It's like a 1037 at roughly 71 miles an hour. It spun a little bit out of the hole. It runs okay, it makes good torque, but I mean, it's a GT40 headed 351. It's making like 350, 360 horse on a good day. The van weighs probably 4,300 pounds. 0 to 60 on it was 7.64 seconds. Okay? 181 horsepower. This car, via the race box, on the same road, the same day, so we have the same climate, same weather conditions. This car busts 0 to 60 in 6.3 seconds with the traction control on a soft launch. Because I'm not trying to obliterate brand new tires. With the traction control off and maybe not having stuff in the trunk and being a little more aggressive, this thing's probably going to dip into like a 5.9, 6 flat, probably a 5.9. Oh, and that eighth of a mile time, 967 at I believe it's 78 miles an hour. Didn't have enough room for a quarter mile, but quarter mile it's going to be in the low 14s, probably a 14.2, 14.1. This car is literally bolt-ons and a tune away from being in the mid-13s. The engine is incredible. It really is. So it's a normally aspirated 2-liter. Now, I don't know anything about Mazdas. Never owned one. And the reason I picked this car over like a GR86 or Subaru BRZ or any of the cars in its class is the MX-5, whether anyone wants to admit it or not, from 1990 to now is probably the most heavily R&D'd car on the market, bar none. I mean, there's a racing series for them. It probably has the biggest enthusiast market of any of the Japanese cars other than the Honda variety. But this engine is the Skyactiv G. Now that sounds like scary, like, something out of the Terminator, but what it is, and Europe actually got a better one. Theirs is like 205 horse. Skyactiv G is a direct injection, ultra high compression engine. This US spec engine is 13.0 to 1, and it has variable cam timing, intake, and exhaust cam individually. In drive, it shifts around 7,200 RPM. It runs really good, makes really good low-end torque, really good mid-range. Oh, and by the way, it's been getting low 30s for mileage, driving it back and forth to work. This car is all aluminum, every bit of it. The whole car, other than the front and rear bumper, they're plastic like everything is, but it's an all-aluminum car. With an automatic in this car, the sticks weigh 2480. The automatic cars weigh in the mid-25s, so this car's around 2550, 2560. This thing is faster than that white van is, and it gets low 30s for MPG, mixed city, and highway driving. Oh, did we talk about the handling? You can hang an off-ramp in this car at 75 miles an hour, and it doesn't even know it's there, doesn't even squeak a tire. This car is incredible, and here's where it gets good. Edelbrock actually makes a Roots blower for these cars and sells them through Mazda Speed. It's an Edelbrock E-Street Series supercharger. Replaces that whole intake manifold with a Roots blower, and the basic low boost setup doesn't even require a tune, and I believe it's advertised to add like 40 wheel. And then the one with the higher boost pulley, which I think you can buy the pulleys separate, but the higher boost setup, if you do a tune, is, I believe I read it, puts it right at 266 wheel horsepower, and I'm sure they have a header on it and stuff at that point. But even you can't see it under that factory cover. That is a tuned length 4-in-1 manifold, so it's really good. Oh, and new cars apparently suck. This car really is not bad to work on. It is about as Spartan and traditional as you're going to get with a new car. So that's the bad part about it. This car absolutely ruined me. I drove this car. I completely lost interest in that white van. I've completely lost interest in spending $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 on 80s and 90s garbage American iron that all these idiots on Marketplace want big money for. After I sold the van, I was actually wanting to kind of buy another one like it that was a stock V8, and I just wanted to do like the cam and gear and stuff and leave it fuel injection and power everything, something that's better to drive. the vans, the trucks, everybody's asking $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. I drove around with $10,000 cash this weekend and looked at several vehicles, and there wasn't anything remotely in the $5,000 to $8,000 range. You couldn't pay me to haul them off. They're all junk. Everyone's on crack. Everyone wants stupid scalper prices for junk that's not worth it. Stuff I was paying $1,500 to $1,800 for not even that long ago, like middle of COVID. Why would I spend $10,000 to buy a decent F100, put 10 grand in it, the thing runs 14s when that's like $8,000 more, and it's got air conditioning and heated seats, and oh, it's reliable, and it's not a big rusty pile of garbage. I do this for a living. I got to work on garbage every day. Why would I want to work on garbage when I'm home? And that's not to say that I don't like old cars. I love old cars. I still have my Shorty, doing stuff with it. I'm just past the point of even being remotely interested in drag racing old stuff. Because no matter how much money a normal guy like me will spend, you're still going to get your doors blown off by a guy that had other people build his stuff with a credit card. And it's just not fun, not competitive, really not interesting anymore. Whereas this car, I can truly enjoy it. It's not a fair weather vehicle, like drive it in the rain. It actually handles good. You can take it to Deals Gap, Tail of the Dragon. You can actually put this car on a real racetrack, and it does well. This car holds its own against cars that punch way above this thing's belt. It's a pretty incredible machine. And it has sent me down the rabbit hole of sports cars. Like one idea I have, I was thinking about getting I've always liked Jaguar XJS's, the V12 cars from like the late 80s, early 90s. I thought about getting an XJS V12, taking the General Motors automatic out of it, putting a TKX in it, ripping the Bosch fuel injection off of it, putting 6 downdraft Webers on it, you know, and doing some suspension, wheel, and tire stuff to it, and do like track days with it. That's about the cheapest way you're going to get into a V12 Grand Touring car at that caliber. You know, you'd probably pay. That's the other weird thing. You can buy an XJS V12 for like a nice one for like $6 grand, and Honda Civics are like $8,500. Odd. And S10s are like $5,000, and a lot of like really garbage American cars that were never good to begin with are really big money. So this has been an interesting journey. That car ruined me. I'm not sure how to feel about it. But, you know, worst comes to worst, for what I sold everything for, I've actually considered just paying this car off, going right back up to the dealership, financing another one, except just a base model, not a Grand Touring, so they're quite a bit cheaper. Get a base model in like white to drive to work every day. And this one that I really like, because it's the color I want, the package I want, put the Edelbrock E-Street supercharger on, a tune. I'm going to leave the exhaust stock because I don't like loud 4-cylinders. Do that, a good wheel and tire package, maybe put some 17-inch BBSs on it with some Continentals on it, some Connies, something sticky. And enjoy having, I mean, this car with a supercharger and a tune, if Edelbrock's not full of it, and this thing's really making, with that 266 wheel at a little over 2,500 pounds, this car would be in like the high 12s and probably still get good gas mileage and actually handle and not be absolutely awful to drive. And yeah, I know, I'm 6'1", 225 pounds, and yes, I can get in and out of it. Everybody's like, how you fit in this thing? Like this. No problem. But yeah, I fit in it just fine. Oh, and here's another cool thing. So this car, look how quick the top is. It's got just one lock, rolls the windows down automatically. You get the top kind of going down, and then you just give it a shove. And there you go. You got an open roof. You know, everybody wants a power top. I kind of like that it's a manual top. That way it doesn't break and cost a lot of money, and it's simple. And then to put it back up, just flip that. Make sure the hook's in. Latch it. No problem. Here, roll these windows back up. Yeah, this car's like sweet. And has a great gauge package in it. I'll have to take close-up videos when I can flip this thing around, but the only weird thing's the cup holders are in kind of an odd spot. But hey, it's a cheap price to pay. I don't know if you'd ride around drinking road beers in this thing, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, it's totally ruined me, and I heavily blame Chris at Gorham's, Gorham Works, you know, his Gorham's Garage on YouTube. You know, Gorham Works. If you don't watch his channel, you should. And then he threw me the keys to a Porsche 914, and I drove it around, and I really want a Porsche 914. And then he let me drive his brand new GR Supra 6-speed. That car is really great. I really like American muscle cars. I really do. I love the image. But I'm going to blame it on the people that own them and the people that price gouge them. You have made those cars no longer relevant. They're not worth $100,000. Sorry. And that's coming from me. I'm like the biggest fan of them. It's just not worth it. I don't get it. They run all right, but they've never been a $100,000 car. They were never meant to be. I think most people that own them would agree with that. You know, the people that are actually logical in their thinking. The problem you're going to run into with old cars is if the flippers price everyone else out of the market on them, people are going to just go buy new cars. And with the changing of the guard in Washington, now that they've killed the EV mandate, which, you know, politicians say one thing, do another, so that may not even matter. But it seems to me like there are a lot of really good enthusiast cars that are going really strong that are still cheaper than buying an old car and having to fix everything wrong with it. And it's a much less headache. I mean, my friend Ty, you probably haven't seen anything on his channel lately, but he sold everything and bought a new Ford Maverick. And what's sad is that vehicle's faster than the last two things he had. It's faster than the G20 he put a built 350 in and everything. It's not even a hot rod. And that's the funny thing about this MX-5. You know, everybody said, well, it's apples to oranges comparing to your van. You're right. You're right. The van has an engine that's built for drag racing, a transmission that's built for drag racing. The MX-5 is not a drag car. It's not even remotely meant for acceleration or drag racing. It's a handling car. It is for road courses. It is for stuff like that. It's not, you do not take this to the NHRA Winter Nationals. So this car is not even supposed to be good at drag racing, yet it's better than the vehicle I put together for drag racing. That's probably what I get for putting vans together, though, for drag racing. That being said, that 351 and a Mustang probably would have run really good, but the Mustang would have cost me, you know, so I paid like $800 for that van, $1,000, something like that. I think it was like $800. To get a Fox body that era, you know, you're going to spend $7,000-8,000. So there goes that budget. And by the time you equate, you know, put into account what I spent on the engine, transmission, drive shaft, everything else, with the price of a Mustang, that's a little over $30,000. And it still wouldn't be a nice car. It'd have crappy paint, probably have some rust in it. It's just not worth it anymore, in my opinion. Not unless you got just bundles of money and bundles of time. And it doesn't seem like everybody's got all that right now. I do really well, but I'm also not going to blow money on things that I see as an unworthy venture. So, but this car ruined me. I kind of want to take it to the No Name Nationals because I feel like it'd do really good in bracket class because it's a really consistent car. It runs really good. It's comfortable. It would make the trip infinitely enjoyable. Driving that white van was like driving a woodshed down the street. It was pretty bad. But the new owner really likes it. He's going to use it to tow a rat rod with, and that's probably the best thing you could do with it. But anyway, you guys have a good week, and I will keep y'all updated, and y'all have a good day. I'll see y'all later.